The Galactic Academy of Interstellar Sciences was the biggest space station Kevin Park had ever seen. It floated in the darkness between three star systems, spinning slowly like a giant wheel made of metal and glass. Thousands of students from dozens of alien species lived and studied here. They came to learn about science, diplomacy, and how to work together across the stars. Kevin was 22 years old. He had brown eyes, black hair, and a quiet smile that he gave to almost everyone. He was the only human at the Academy that year. Earth had only recently joined the Galactic Council, and humans were still rare in this part of space. Most aliens had never met one before. His roommate was a creature named Torek. Torek had 4 arms, blue skin, and a face that looked like a mix between a cat and a lizard. He belonged to a species called the Vulix. Torek was friendly enough, but he clearly thought Kevin was boring. "You humans are strange," Torek said one evening, watching Kevin do push-ups on the floor. "Your planet is so dangerous. Earthquakes, volcanoes, predators everywhere. Extreme temperatures. Yet you yourself seem so ordinary, so soft." Kevin just smiled and kept doing his push-ups. He did not feel the need to explain himself. He had learned long ago that actions spoke louder than words. What Torek did not know was that Kevin had grown up in Alaska. Not in a city, but in a small village surrounded by wilderness. He had learned to hunt when he was 10. He had survived his first bear encounter at 12. At 15, he had fallen through thin ice into a frozen lake. The water was so cold that his heart nearly stopped. He had pulled himself out, walked 2 miles back home through the snow, and never told anyone how scared he had been. Kevin did not talk about these things. They were just part of life on Earth. Every human had stories like this. To them, it was normal. To the rest of the galaxy, it was terrifying. But they did not know that yet. The Academy was a place of learning, but it was also a place of politics. Rich families sent their children here to make connections and gain power. Some of these students thought they were better than everyone else. They thought their money and their family names made them special. The worst of them was a student named Prince Varax. Varax was a Kreth. His species looked like tall, muscular lizards with dark green scales and yellow eyes. They came from a world of deserts and mountains, and they believed strength was everything. Varax's father, Lord Carax, owned half the mining operations in 3 star systems. This made Varax very rich and very arrogant. Varax had a gang of 4 friends who followed him everywhere. They were all from wealthy families. They all believed they could do whatever they wanted, and their favorite thing to do was hurt those who could not fight back. Kevin first noticed them in the dining hall during his 2nd week at the Academy. They had surrounded a small creature named Pip. Pip was a Minari, a species that looked like small furry balls with big eyes and thin arms. Minari were gentle and peaceful. They had no claws, no fangs, no way to defend themselves. They survived by being kind and helpful to others. Varax was not kind. "Look at this pathetic thing," Varax laughed, pushing Pip against the wall. "They can barely stand up. Why do they even let creatures like this into the Academy?" Pip's big eyes filled with tears. "Please," Pip whispered. "I just want to eat my lunch." Varax knocked the lunch tray out of Pip's hands. Food splattered across the floor. The other students in the dining hall looked away. Nobody wanted to get involved. Nobody wanted to become Varax's next target. Kevin watched from across the room. His face showed no emotion. But inside, something cold and hard was forming. He had seen bullies before. He had dealt with them back on Earth. He knew that people like Varax never stopped on their own. They only stopped when someone made them stop. But Kevin was new here. He did not know the rules yet. He did not know who had power and who did not. So he watched. He waited. He remembered. Days passed. Kevin went to his classes. He studied hard. He was polite to everyone. He helped other students with their homework. He smiled and nodded and never caused any trouble. But he kept watching Varax. The prince and his gang tormented someone new almost every day. They broke a student's tablet. They stole another student's research notes. They pushed a young alien into a fountain and laughed as it struggled to breathe in the water. The academy security did nothing. The teachers looked the other way. Everyone knew that Kreth money paid for half the station's operating costs. Nobody wanted to upset Lord Carax. Kevin understood. He had seen this kind of thing before. The powerful protected the powerful. The weak suffered in silence. It was the same on Earth. It was the same everywhere. But Kevin also knew something else. He knew that bullies were cowards at heart. They only attacked those who could not fight back. They ran from anyone who stood up to them. The trick was standing up in the right way, at the right time. The right time came 3 weeks after Kevin arrived at the academy. He was walking back to his room through a maintenance corridor. It was late at night. The lights were dim. Most students were asleep. Kevin liked walking at night. It reminded him of Alaska, where winter nights lasted for months. He heard footsteps behind him, then in front of him, then all around him. Varax stepped out of the shadows. His 4 friends appeared from different directions, blocking every exit. They all had cruel smiles on their faces. Well, Varax said, his yellow eyes glowing in the dim light. The human. I have been wanting to meet you. Kevin stopped walking. He looked at Varax calmly. Hello, he said. Can I help you with something? Varax laughed. It was an ugly sound. Yes, human. You can help me by showing proper respect. On my world, lesser species bow to their betters. I think you should bow to me. Right now. The other gang members laughed too. They thought this was very funny. A weak little human, all alone, being told to bow. What could he possibly do? Kevin looked at Varax for a long moment. Then he looked at each of the gang members in turn. His face was still calm. His voice was still polite. I would rather not, he said. The laughter stopped. Varax's eyes narrowed. Nobody had ever refused him before. Nobody had ever dared. What did you say? The prince hissed. Kevin shrugged. I said I would rather not bow. I do not bow to bullies. Not on Earth, not here, not anywhere. The corridor was very quiet. Kevin could hear his own heartbeat. He could feel the familiar rush of chemicals flooding his system, adrenaline, cortisol. His body was preparing itself for what was coming. Varax did not know it yet, but he had just made the biggest mistake of his life. You will regret those words, human, Varax growled. I promise you that. Then he turned and walked away. His gang followed, throwing angry looks over their shoulders. Kevin watched them go. Then he continued walking to his room. His heart was still beating fast, but his mind was clear. The game had begun. 3 days passed after the meeting in the corridor. Kevin went about his life as if nothing had happened. He attended classes. He ate meals in the dining hall. He studied in the library until late at night. He smiled at everyone and caused no trouble, but he knew Varax was planning something. He could feel it the way he used to feel storms coming back in Alaska. There was a pressure in the air, a tension that made his skin tingle. The prince was not the type to let an insult go unpunished. It was only a matter of time that Kevin did not tell anyone about the confrontation. He did not ask for help or protection. That was not how he had been raised. On Earth, you dealt with your own problems. You did not complain. You did not run. You faced whatever came, and you survived. The attack came on a Tuesday night. Kevin was walking back from the library. He had a heavy bag of study materials over his shoulder. The corridor he chose was a shortcut through the cargo section of the station. It was quiet there. Most students avoided it because the lights were dim and the air was cold. Kevin liked it. It reminded him of home. He heard them before he saw them. The sound of feet on metal. The whisper of scales against walls. The low hum of weapons powering up. He stopped walking. Varak stepped out from behind a stack of cargo containers. His 4 friends appeared from other hiding spots. They had formed a circle around Kevin. There was no way out, but this time, they were not just using words. Each of them held a shock stick. These were weapons designed to deliver powerful electric shocks. One touch could knock out most species. The pain was supposed to be incredible. No teachers here, Varak said with a smile. No security cameras. No witnesses. Just you and us, human. Kevin set down his bag slowly. He looked at the shock sticks. Then he looked at the faces of his attackers. They were excited. They thought this would be easy. They thought they were about to teach a lesson to a weak, soft human who did not know his place. You do not have to do this, Kevin said quietly. You can still walk away. Varak laughed. Walk away? From a human? You are nothing. Your species is nothing. You come from a rock covered in poison and monsters, and somehow you think you deserve to be here with us? No. Tonight you learn what happens when you disrespect your betters. He raised his shock stick and swung it at Kevin's head. Kevin moved to the craft. It looked like the human simply disappeared. One moment he was standing there. The next moment he was somewhere else, and Varak's shock stick hit nothing but air. Kevin had not disappeared. He had just moved very fast. Faster than any of them expected. Faster than any of them thought possible. On Earth, humans had evolved to be persistence hunters. They could not run as fast as other predators, but they could keep going long after other animals collapsed from exhaustion. Their bodies were designed for endurance, for survival, for pushing through pain that would kill other creatures. But humans could also move quickly when they needed to. Their muscles could produce sudden bursts of speed and power. Their reflexes were sharp. And when danger came, their bodies released a chemical called adrenaline. Adrenaline was like a superpower. It made the heart beat faster. It sent blood rushing to the muscles. It dulled pain and sharpened focus. It turned ordinary humans into something else entirely. Right now, Kevin's body was flooded with adrenaline. His heart was pounding at 180 beats per minute. His pupils were wide open, taking in every detail of the cargo bay. Time seemed to slow down. He could see exactly where each attacker was standing. He could predict where they would move next. Varak swung again. This time, Kevin did not just dodge. He grabbed the prince's arm as it passed and twisted. There was a loud crack. Varak screamed as his arm broke in 2 places. The shock stick fell from his hand. Kevin caught it before it hit the ground. Everything had happened in less than 2 seconds. The other 4 gang members stared in shock. They could not believe what they had just seen. Their leader was on the ground, holding his broken arm and screaming in pain. The human was standing there calmly, holding the shock stick like he had done this 1,000 times before. 2 of them ran. They simply turned and fled into the darkness of the cargo bay. They wanted no part of whatever was happening here. The other 2 were braver. Or maybe just more stupid. They attacked Kevin together, swinging their shock sticks in wide arcs. Kevin had wrestled in high school. He had boxed in college. On Earth, these were considered hobbies. Fun ways to exercise and compete. Nobody thought of them as deadly skills. In this cargo bay. Against aliens who had never trained to fight. They were devastating. Kevin ducked under the first swing and drove his fist into the attacker's stomach. The crest doubled over, gasping for air. Kevin grabbed him by the neck and threw him into the second attacker. They both went down in a tangle of limbs before they could get up. Kevin was on them. He used cargo straps to tie their hands behind their backs. He worked quickly and efficiently, like he was securing equipment for transport. His movements were calm and precise. When he was done, he stepped back and looked at his work. 3 of Varax's gang were down. 2 had run away. The prince himself was still lying on the ground, whimpering and holding his broken arm. Kevin's heart was still pounding. His hands were shaking slightly from the adrenaline, but his face was calm. His voice was steady. "I told you to walk away," he said to Varax. "You should have listened." Then he sat down against a cargo container, pulled out his tablet, and started reading. He was still sitting there when station security arrived 10 minutes later. The security chief was a Tellurian named Commander Drex. He was old and experienced, with gray skin and tired eyes that had seen everything. Or so he thought. He walked into the cargo bay, expecting to find another rich kid's prank gone wrong. Instead, he found a war zone. 3 Kreth were restrained on the ground. 1 was unconscious. 1 was crying. The 3rd, Prince Varax himself, had a broken arm and was demanding that someone arrest the human immediately. And the human? The human was sitting peacefully against a wall, reading something about quantum mechanics. Drex stared at the scene for a long moment. Then he looked at Kevin, then back at the scene. "What happened here?" he asked finally. Kevin put down his tablet and stood up politely. "They attacked me," he said. "I defended myself. The security cameras in the corridor outside will show them following me. The shock sticks are theirs. I have no weapons." Drex looked at Varax. "Is this true?" "He is lying," Varax screamed. "He attacked us. He is a monster. Arrest him." But Drex was already checking the security footage on his device. His eyes widened as he watched. He saw 5 armed Kreth ambush 1 unarmed human. He saw the human defend himself with nothing but his bare hands. He saw him defeat 3 of them in less than a minute. Drex had heard stories about humans, about their planet, which the Galactic Council classified as a Deathworld, about their strange biology, their impossible endurance, their refusal to die when they should. He had dismissed these stories as exaggeration, propaganda, fear-mongering. He was not dismissing them anymore. "You did all this alone?" he asked Kevin. Kevin shrugged. "I am from Earth," he said, as if that explained everything. And in a way, it did. Drex ordered his team to take Varax and his friends to the medical bay. He told Kevin to come to the security office to make a formal statement. As they walked through the corridors, other students stopped and stared. Word was already spreading. The human had fought off 5 Kreth. The human had broken Prince Varax's arm. The human was not as soft as everyone thought. Kevin ignored the stares. He walked calmly beside Commander Drex, his hands in his pockets, his face showing no emotion. Inside, though, he knew this was just the beginning. Varax would not forgive this humiliation. His family would not accept this insult. There would be consequences. Kevin was ready for them. News of the fight spread across the academy like fire through dry grass. By morning, everyone knew what had happened. The quiet human exchange student had defeated 5 Kreth warriors with his bare hands. Prince Varax, the most feared bully on the station, was lying in the medical bay with a broken arm and a broken pride. Some students were amazed. Some were frightened. Most simply could not believe it. "Humans cannot fight," said Torek, Kevin's roommate. "They are too slow, too weak. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears. How could one human defeat 5 Kreth?" Kevin did not answer. He just smiled and went to class like it was a normal day. But it was not a normal day. Thousands of light years away on the Kreth homeworld, Lord Carax was receiving a message from his son. The message was full of rage and embarrassment. Prince Varax demanded revenge. He demanded that his father destroy the human who had humiliated him. Lord Carax was a powerful man. He had built his fortune by being ruthless and cruel. He had destroyed competitors, crushed rivals, and eliminated anyone who stood in his way. His son's humiliation was his humiliation. It could not be allowed to stand. At first, he demanded that the Academy expel Kevin, but the Academy refused. The security footage clearly showed self-defense. There was nothing they could do. So Lord Carax decided to handle the problem himself. He contacted an organization called the Hollow Men. The Hollow Men were assassins. They were the best in the galaxy. They had killed senators, generals, and even a planetary governor. They never failed. They never left witnesses. They were very, very expensive. Lord Carax paid them triple their usual fee. He wanted the human to suffer before he died. 3 Hollow Men arrived at the Academy 1 week after the cargo bay fight. They were disguised as maintenance workers. They wore plain gray uniforms and carried toolboxes. They smiled at everyone they passed. Nobody looked at them twice. Nobody except Kevin. Kevin noticed them on their first day. There was something wrong about the way they moved. They were too careful, too precise. Their eyes watched everything. When they looked at Kevin, he felt a cold sensation in his stomach. It was the same feeling he got back home when he knew a predator was nearby. He did not panic. He did not run. Instead, he started preparing. In Alaska, Kevin had learned that survival was about planning. You could not fight a blizzard with bare hands. You could not outrun a hungry bear. But you could prepare. You could study your environment. You could make the land work for you instead of against you. Kevin spent 3 days studying the Academy's layout. He memorized the location of every air duct, every maintenance shaft, every emergency exit. He learned where the security cameras were positioned and where the blind spots were. He studied the gravity systems and the power grid. He also made a friend. Her name was Jenny. Kim. She was a human graduate student who had arrived at the Academy the same month as Kevin. She was 25 years old, with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue. She had grown up in Detroit, a city on Earth known for being tough and dangerous. When Kevin told her about the Hollow Men, she did not seem surprised. Assassins? She said, raising an eyebrow. Because you beat up some rich kid? That seems like an overreaction. His father is very powerful, Kevin explained, and very angry. Jenny nodded slowly. So, what is the plan? Run to security? Hide in your room? No, Kevin said. The plan is to make them regret coming here. Jenny smiled. It was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had grown up surrounded by danger and had learned to smile back at it. I like that plan, she said. Tell me how I can help. Jenny was a xenobiologist. She studied alien species for a living. She knew their strengths, their weaknesses, their biology. She spent 2 days researching the Hollow Men and the species they belonged to. What she found was useful. The Hollow Men came from a low-gravity world. Their bodies were adapted to light conditions. In Earth normal gravity, they tired quickly. Extended physical activity drained them. They also relied heavily on their armor. Their environmental suits regulated temperature, provided oxygen, and enhanced their senses. Without the suits, they were vulnerable. Kevin and Jenny made a plan. They set a trap in one of the cargo bays. It was the same kind of location where Varax had ambushed Kevin. Dark, isolated, no witnesses. The perfect place for an assassination. The perfect place for a counter-ambush. The Hollow Men made their move 6 days after arriving at the Academy. They cut power to Kevin's residential section during the night cycle. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows across the corridors. It was exactly the kind of confusion they needed. Kevin was waiting for them. He was not in his room. He was in the cargo bay, standing in the middle of the open space like bait in a trap. When the three hollow men entered through different doors, they found him alone and apparently defenseless. "Human," the leader said. His voice was cold and mechanical through his helmet. "Lord Carax sends his regards." Kevin did not reply. He was counting silently in his head. 3, 2, 1. The lights changed. Jenny had hacked into the emergency lighting system. Now the lights were flashing on and off in a specific pattern. The strobe effect was designed to interfere with the optical implants in the hollow men's helmets. Their enhanced vision became a weakness, overwhelming them with confusing signals. At the same time, Kevin felt the floor beneath his feet become slightly heavier. Jenny had also adjusted the local gravity. It was now set to 1.2 Earth standard. For Kevin, who had grown up at 1.0, the difference was barely noticeable. He felt a little heavier, but that was all. For the hollow men, who came from a world with 0.6 gravity, it was like carrying an extra person on their backs. They stumbled. They gasped. Their movements became slow and clumsy. Kevin moved. He was not fast by human standards. Back on Earth, he would have been considered average. But here, in this moment, he seemed to fly across the cargo bay. The first hollow man never saw him coming. Kevin hit him in the throat, crushing his breathing apparatus. The assassin collapsed, choking. The second one raised his weapon, but his arms were heavy and slow. Kevin grabbed the weapon and turned it against its owner. A bright flash of energy, and the second assassin was down. The third one was smarter. He tried to retreat, to escape, and try again another day. But his legs would not cooperate. The gravity was too much. Every step felt like walking through mud. Kevin caught up with him in 3 seconds. He grabbed the assassin's helmet and twisted. There was a hissing sound as the seals broke. Cold station air rushed in. The hollow man screamed. His species needed a specific atmosphere to survive. Without his helmet, he could breathe, but barely. His strength faded. His resistance crumbled. Kevin pushed him to the ground and held him there until he stopped fighting. When the lights came back on, Jenny walked into the cargo bay carrying a medical kit. She looked at the 3 defeated assassins on the floor. She looked at Kevin, who had a black eye and blood running from a cut on his forehead. "You okay?" she asked. Kevin nodded. He was breathing hard. His hands were shaking from the adrenaline. But he was smiling. "I really need to stop getting into fights in cargo bays," he said. Jenny laughed. "Maybe, but you are good at winning them." She helped him restrain the assassins. Then she called Commander Drex. When the security chief arrived, he found 3 of the most dangerous killers in the galaxy lying helpless on the ground. One of them was crying. Drex stared at Kevin. Kevin stared back. "Let me guess," Drex said slowly. "They attacked you and you defended yourself." Kevin shrugged. "Something like that." Drex shook his head. He had been in security for 30 years. He had seen things that would give most people nightmares. But he had never seen anything like this human. "What are you?" he asked quietly. Kevin thought about it for a moment. "I am from Earth," he said. That is all. But they both knew that was not all. Not even close. The news spread across the galaxy like a shockwave. A human student had defeated 3 hollow men, the most feared assassins in 12 star systems, brought down by a young man from Earth. The story was everywhere. News channels played it on repeat. Politicians debated it. Military leaders studied it. And on the Kreth homeworld, Lord Carax burned with shame. In Kreth culture, honor was everything. A man's reputation was worth more than his wealth, more than his life. To be humiliated was worse than death. And Lord Carax had been humiliated twice. First, his son was beaten by a human. Then, the assassins he hired were defeated by the same human. He was becoming a joke. Other lords were laughing at him behind his back. There was only one way to restore his honor. He had to face the human himself. He had to destroy Kevin Park in personal combat in front of witnesses. With no tricks and no help, he sent a message to the Academy. It was a formal challenge. A duel, single combat. To the death if necessary. Kevin received the challenge during breakfast. He read it calmly while eating his cereal. Jenny sat across from him, watching his face for a reaction. "Well?" she asked. Kevin set down the message. "Lord Carax wants to fight me. One-on-one. In the arena. And you are going to refuse, right?" Jenny said. "This man is a trained warrior. He has been fighting since before you were born. He has killed dozens of people in duels." Kevin did not answer. He was thinking. He was remembering Pip, the small Minari student who had been bullied by Varax. He was remembering all the other students who lived in fear. He was remembering his family back on Earth, who could become targets if this feud continued. "If I refuse," he said slowly, "he will keep coming. He will send more assassins. Better ones. He might target you. He might target my parents. This will never end until one of us stops it." "And you think you can stop him?" Kevin looked at her. His eyes were calm but serious. "I think I have to try." Commander Drex came to see Kevin that afternoon. He was not alone. The Academy's dean was with him, along with several security officers. They all looked worried. "You cannot accept this challenge," the dean said. He was a tall, thin creature with too many eyes. "Lord Carax is not like his son. He's not a bully playing games. He is a killer. A professional. He's been fighting in duels for 40 years. "I understand," Kevin said. "Then you will refuse?" Kevin shook his head. "No, I will fight him." The dean made a sound of frustration. "Why? Why would you throw away your life like this?" Kevin thought about how to explain it. He thought about Alaska, about the cold winters and the hungry predators. He thought about his father, who had taught him to never run from a problem. He thought about his mother, who had taught him that protecting others was more important than protecting yourself. "On my world," Kevin said quietly, "we have a saying. The only thing necessary for evil to win is for good people to do nothing. I am not a good person. I am just a student who got lucky in a few fights. But if I do nothing, Lord Carax will keep hurting people. He will keep sending killers. More students will suffer because of his pride." He looked at the dean directly. "I cannot let that happen. I would rather die fighting than live knowing I could have stopped him, but did not." The dean had no response to that. Neither did Commander Drex. They left Kevin's room in silence, and the duel was scheduled for 3 days later. Those 3 days passed too quickly. Kevin trained when he could, but he knew training would not be enough. Lord Carax had decades of experience. He was bigger and stronger. His scales were like armor. His claws were like knives. Kevin's only advantages were speed, endurance, and the element of surprise. Nobody expected him to win. Nobody expected him to even survive. The duel took place in the Academy's central arena. It was a huge circular space designed for sporting events and ceremonies. Thousands of students filled the seats. Millions more watched through broadcasts across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to see what would happen when a Deathworld human faced a Kreth. Warlord. Kevin walked into the arena wearing simple exercise clothes. No armor, no protection. Just a human body against whatever was coming. Lord Carax was already there. He was enormous, at least 7 feet tall, with muscles that bulged under his dark green scales. His yellow eyes glowed with hatred. He wore ceremonial armor that gleamed under the arena lights. Two blades waited on a table in the center of the arena. Traditional Kreth dueling blades. They were curved and sharp, designed to cut through almost anything. "Human," Lord Carax growled. "You have caused me much trouble. Today, that trouble ends." Kevin did not reply. He was studying his opponent, watching how he moved, how he breathed, where he carried his weight. Lord Carax moved like a predator. But he was old. 40 years of fighting had left marks. Kevin noticed a slight stiffness in the Lord's right knee, a hesitation in his left shoulder. Small weaknesses, probably invisible to most observers. But Kevin was not most observers. He was a hunter from Alaska. He had learned to read animals since childhood. And right now, Lord Carax was just another animal. The signal to begin was given. Carax attacked immediately. He was fast for his size. His blade whistled through the air, aimed at Kevin's head. Kevin was faster. He ducked under the strike and rolled away. He did not try to fight back. Not yet. He was testing, learning, figuring out his enemy's patterns. Carax attacked again, and again, and again. Each strike was powerful enough to cut Kevin in half. Each strike missed by inches as Kevin dodged and weaved and retreated. The crowd was confused. Why was the human not fighting back? Was he a coward? Was he just trying to survive as long as possible? But Commander Drex understood. He had studied human tactics. He knew what Kevin was doing. Humans were persistent predators. On Earth, they had hunted by chasing animals until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. Humans could not outrun their prey, but they could outlast it. Kevin was doing the same thing now. He was letting Lord Carax attack, letting him spend his energy, letting him tire himself out. 5 minutes passed. Lord Carax was breathing hard. His attacks were getting slower. The stiffness in his knee was becoming more obvious. Sweat dripped from his scales. Kevin had not even attacked once. He was moving easily, light on his feet, his breathing calm and steady. "Stop running," Carax roared. "Fight me like a warrior." Kevin stopped moving. He stood in the center of the arena and raised his blade. "Okay," he said. Car, axe charged with all his remaining strength. It was a powerful attack, a killing blow, the kind of strike that had ended dozens of duels, but it was also predictable, desperate, the attack of a tired man who had run out of options. Kevin stepped aside at the last moment. As Carax rushed past him, Kevin's blade caught the Lord across the throat. It was a shallow cut, just deep enough to draw blood, just deep enough to end the fight. Carax fell to his knees. His blade dropped from his hand. Blood dripped down his neck onto the arena floor. The arena was completely silent. Kevin stood over his fallen enemy. His blade was still raised. He could finish this. He could kill Lord Carax right now and end the threat forever. Instead, he lowered his blade. "Yield," he said. His voice was calm, not angry, not triumphant, just calm. Carax looked up at him. There was something new in his eyes. Not hatred, not rage. Something that might have been respect. "I yield," Lord Carax said. The arena exploded with noise. Students were screaming, cheering, crying. Millions of viewers across the galaxy could not believe what they had just seen. A human had defeated a Kreth warlord. Not through strength, not through violence, but through patience, intelligence, and mercy. Kevin walked out of the arena without looking back. Jenny was waiting for him outside. She did not say anything. She just hugged him. Kevin hugged her back. His hands were shaking. His heart was pounding. But he was alive, and it was finally over. In the days following the duel, the Galactic Academy changed. Everyone felt it. The air seemed lighter. Students who had lived in fear for years suddenly walked with their heads held high. The bullies who had once ruled the corridors now stayed in their rooms, afraid to show their faces. Lord Carax returned to the Kreth homeworld in silence. He did not speak to reporters. He did not make threats. He simply left, and his son Varax went with him. The prince who had started everything was gone, and nobody missed him. The Kreth Dominion recalled all its students and diplomats from Academy space. For a while, there was fear that war might be coming. The Kreth were proud warriors. They did not accept defeat easily. Surely they would want revenge. But the revenge never came. Months later, a Kreth admiral was asked why his people had not retaliated against humanity. His answer surprised everyone. "We always thought humans were prey," the admiral said. "Soft creatures from a dangerous world who somehow survived through luck. We thought we could take what we wanted from them, push them around, break them when they became annoying." He paused, and something that might have been respect crossed his face. "We were wrong. Humans are not prey. They are predators who choose to be peaceful. They could destroy us if they wanted. They have the strength, the endurance, the intelligence. But they choose not to. They choose mercy. They choose cooperation." The admiral shook his head slowly. "That is far more terrifying than any weapon. You cannot fight an enemy who refuses to be your enemy. You cannot defeat someone who has already won by not wanting to fight." Back at the academy, Kevin tried to return to his normal life. He went to classes. He studied in the library. He ate meals in the dining hall. But nothing was the same. Everywhere he went, students stared at him. Some with admiration. Some with fear. Some with curiosity. He was no longer just Kevin Park, the quiet exchange student from Earth. He was Kevin Park, the human who had defeated the Hollow Men, the human who had humbled Lord Carax, the human who had shown the galaxy what Deathworld survivors were really capable of. Kevin did not enjoy the attention. He had never wanted to be famous. He had never wanted to fight anyone. All he had wanted was to study engineering and maybe make some friends along the way. But life rarely gave you what you wanted. It gave you what you needed. Commander Drex called Kevin to his office one afternoon. The old security chief looked different. Less tired. Less cynical. There was something like hope in his eyes. "The academy is changing," Drex said. "Because of you." Kevin shrugged. "I did not do much. I just defended myself. You did more than that." Drex leaned forward. "For years, this station was run by money and fear. Rich families sent their children here and expected everyone else to bow to them. The administration looked the other way because they needed the funding. Students suffered in silence because they had no choice." He smiled slightly. "Then you came along. You showed everyone that the powerful can be beaten. That bullies are cowards. That standing up for yourself is possible, even against impossible odds." Drex handed Kevin a document. It was a new academy policy, a code of conduct that would apply to all students equally, regardless of their family's wealth or status. There would be no more looking the other way. No more special treatment. No more fear. "This passed yesterday," Drex said. A unanimous vote. Even the rich families supported it. They saw what happened to Lord Carax. They do not want that happening to them. Kevin read the document in silence. It was everything he would have hoped for. Real protection for students who could not protect themselves. Real consequences for those who tried to hurt others. "Thank you," Kevin said quietly. "Do not thank me," Drex replied. "Thank yourself. You earned this." Jenny finished her graduate studies that year. She became one of the galaxy's leading experts on Deathworld biology, with a special focus on humans. Her research helped alien species understand Earth and its people. It helped build bridges between worlds that had been afraid of each other. She and Kevin stayed friends. Sometimes more than friends. They understood each other in a way that others could not. They had both grown up on a Deathworld. They had both learned that survival required strength, intelligence, and the courage to face whatever came. Pip, the small Minari student who had been bullied by Virax, graduated at the top of the class. Without the constant fear and harassment, Pip had flourished. The little creature went on to become a diplomat, helping negotiate peace between species that had been at war for centuries. "You changed my life," Pip told Kevin at the graduation ceremony. "Before you came, I thought I would never escape. I thought I would always be afraid. But you showed me that even the smallest person can make a difference." Kevin smiled. "I did not change anything. You changed yourself. I just reminded you that you could." Years passed. Kevin completed his degree in interstellar engineering. He joined a diplomatic ship as a bridge officer. He traveled to distant stars, met strange new species, and helped maintain peace across the galaxy. He never forgot where he came from. He never forgot what it felt like to be underestimated. And he never stopped standing up for those who could not stand up for themselves. When Kevin was an old man, with gray hair and wrinkled skin, a young alien journalist came to interview him. The journalist wanted to know about the famous duel, about the Hollow Men, about all the adventures Kevin had experienced over his long life. But at the end of the interview, the journalist asked a different question. "What do you want humans to be remembered for?" She asked. "When the history books are written, what do you hope they will say about your species?" Kevin thought for a long moment. He looked out the window at the stars. He remembered Alaska with its frozen lakes and endless nights. He remembered the academy with its fearful students and cruel bullies. He remembered all the fights he had won and all the friends he had made. "We are not the strongest species in the galaxy," he said finally. "We are not the smartest. We are not the fastest or the longest lived. We have no special powers, no natural weapons, no advantages that other species do not have." He turned to look at the journalist. His eyes were old, but something ancient and powerful still burned behind them. "But we do not give up," he continued. "We adapt. We survive. We keep going when others would stop. We stand up when others would kneel. And when someone threatens the people we care about," he smiled. It was the same calm, quiet smile he had worn as a young man. The smile of someone who knew exactly what he was capable of. "We remind the galaxy why Earth is classified as a death world." The journalist did not ask any more questions. She did not need to. She had gotten the answer that would define humanity for generations to come. Humans were not special because of what they could do. They were special because of what they refused to stop doing: surviving, adapting, fighting, caring, being human. And in a galaxy full of wonders and terrors, that was enough. That was more than enough. That was everything.